Hey guys, it's Wags with Ironman 4x4America.com. We're going to be walking you through how to install your Jeep JL rear spare tire relocation kit. Why do you need that? Well, if you want to run bigger tires, the bigger your tire gets, it starts to interfere with your bumper. And hopefully you're running one of our Ironman 4x4 rear bumpers on your JLU. There's going to be a couple things to consider about your Wrangler, which trim level and model that you have. There's Rubicons, Saharas, all kinds of cool stuff. Ours is a Rubicon, and it comes with this fancy backup camera, which is technically just cheating. To get this thing removed, you've got this little Torx right there. Well, not everybody has a T40 Torx in their toolbox. You can take a flathead, but careful, it's plastic. You're just trying to turn the arrow from lock to unlock. Remove that off. Very cool. Now, some models of Jeep have a rear license plate holder right here, so you may have to take that off, but all we're trying to do is get this rear tire removed so that we have extra room to work when we're pulling the bumper off. All right, grab a 22 mil socket. We'll pop these lugs off. You only got 3. And careful pulling this off. You don't want to bust that cheater camera. To remove the stock rear tire carrier, we've got 8 13 mil bolts, so grab yourself a 13 millimeter socket, grab a fairly clean shop towel and a long zip tie. And if you don't have a long zip tie, just, zip 2 together. That'll work also. Because the idea here is once we pull this assembly off, it has a wiring harness here for our backup camera, and there's no quick disconnect. So we'll zip tie this to the rear door handle, and then we'll use the rag to let it hang on it, and then it won't scratch up our super tough Sarge green paint. Hey, the other thing I thought is kind of worth mentioning, and maybe this is obvious to everybody, but anytime I'm mounting or dismounting something that's hung vertically, don't loosen the top bolts first. Like, loosen everything underneath and leave the top bolts on, because gravity wants to rip that whole thing down. So if you save the bottom for the last, it's the same thing when you're like mounting and dismounting your tires. You'll notice that when you go to pull that bottom bolt off, the whole thing is going to fall on you, or it just puts undue stress on the bottom. So look, my number one rule in life, I just let gravity do the work for pretty much everything. Rollerblading, falling down, ab workouts, anything you can think of. Throwing things at people, always maintain the high ground. You can throw stuff. You can hit people so much further away with things if you're up high. It's true. Sweet. I told you it'd work. All right. Come over here. Swing around. Zip tie this together. Don't touch the paint. Do not touch the paint. Come on, man. It's like playing Operation. All right. We'll grab our rag, find where it wants to rest. I'm going to use my rag right here. Cool, right on. You've got these little shim plates on the bottom and the top, so you want to pull those out and set them down. They appear to be the exact same thing, so you shouldn't, doesn't matter if you mix them up. With the rear wheel tire carrier hanging off to the side and safely secured, now let's pull this trim piece off of our hinges here. You're going to need a T45 Torx bit to remove this guy. See, I told you if you didn't hold it, that thing was coming down, baby. We'll pull that off. Another crucial piece of information, when you pull that hinge plate off, do not open the door of your Jeep. I mean, two things is you've got this all hanging here, so this should be your first warning to like, don't mess with your door handle. But if you were to open this up, these hinges would swing away and your door would completely come out of alignment. So just leave everything the way it is. All right, I know this isn't really part of anything, but I thought I'd give you just a really quick little auto detailing tip. I really like microfiber because it will not scratch your paint. Microfiber has a short side of the pill and then it has a long side. It's a lot softer. I buy these things at Costco. I mean, you can get them just about anywhere, but they're cheap if you buy them in bulk. Kind of shake them out. Here's the tip. When you're working on paint work, especially on like nice cars, and this is a rough and tough Jeep, so if it gets a couple scratches, who cares, man? We're gonna scratch up anyways. But like on a nice car, you don't wanna leave these tags on here. So just take them and tear them off and throw them away. Because even that little tag, if you're wiping back and forth, it'll put little micro scratches in your paintwork. Here's the deal. That's why when you clean a car, you never do circles. Circles will put swirls in there, and then the light picks up an infinite amount of reflective little scratches. That's why you work back and forth, up and down. None of this wax on, wax off nonsense. It's left, right, up, down. So there you go. So now what we need to do, if you've got some quick auto detailer, you just don't want to have anything with grease in it. I've got some 777 Auto Magic here. I'm going to take my rag. Don't spray onto your paint. Spray onto your rag. Oh, that's a great bottle. There we go. So we're going to go nice and slow, get all this dirt off there. Again, the goal here is we want to get all the grease, grime, any extra adhesive on there. So one thing we could have done before we removed our hinge bolts is you can take a screwdriver. If this is all you have, you can take a flathead screwdriver, put a rag around it, and you can work it in between the door and the frame, and see how you can kind of lift and brace it. You're just trying to keep everything lined up. It's not essential that you do this before, but I guess if I was thinking this through, I should have done it that way. Look, I have these body panel removal tools. They're dirt cheap at any local hardware, Harbor Freight, whatever. I'm actually going to use this because this makes a little more sense, and I can keep it in there. There you go, it'll hold it, and then I don't lose access to my only screwdriver. So if you're installing the rear spare tire relocation kit, it's probably because you're running a larger wheel and tire. Larger wheel and tire actually has a lot more weight to it, and if you're going to put a ton more weight on that rear door, you need to reinforce those hinges, or you'll over time, opening and closing, you're just going to blow those hinges out. So we have designed this rear support bracket, solid piece of hard, cold steel right there. And to do it right, we are going to apply these adhesive strips. Now the best degreaser, in my opinion, is just regular rubbing alcohol. So I put some in a little spray bottle, hose it down nice, get yourself a nice clean rag, and we want to wipe the whole thing down. The other nice thing about rubbing alcohol is it evaporates super, super quickly. It'll help this 3M tape to stick a lot better to it. So you've got these two adhesive strips. Obviously it should be pretty self-explanatory, but you should line them up ahead of time with the adhesive side down. Peel the backing off of there. Don't touch it with your fingers. Your fingers are covered in oil and gunk and grime, and you've been itching places you shouldn't. You forgot to wash your hands, but I'm not going to hold that against you because I don't throw stones in glass houses, people. So you can kind of line up these holes right here. In fact, I'm going to punch that guy out. All right, we got that guy down. I'm going to come back here, punch that hole out. It's like I tell you not to touch the back, and then I do it a bunch. All right, and then start from one side, and then you just kind of want to work it back like a decal. Get all those air bubbles. Go right down the center of it. See that movie magic? and then we can work our way out. We'll line up this guy on the front. This thing's like laser cut to fit, so now we'll push in the center, work it back. Yeah, there we go. Right on. You're cool, Meteor. All right, so we got our hinge reinforcement bracket. We have the adhesive padding applied, and this thing is a really nice piece of gear. So let me show you kind of how to orient yourself here. The padding, the foam padding, is going to face the hinge just like that, and that's going to push right on and over the top of your hinges. So now I'll show you how to set up the hardware. There's 4 supplied M10s. You're going to have split washer, flat washer, and bolt. Plug the bolt through. Now grab your OEM. These are little aluminum spacers that were originally here that we took off. Put that over on the back side. Kind of keep all that there hanging loose. And then guide these things in. So we don't want to scratch our paint. And then there you go. You can feel it kind of grab a thread in there. And that one grabs there. Okay, and we'll just get those loosely fit on the top. On the bottom, it's a little trickier. You want to slide that washer up there with your finger, line it up, bolt through, leave it loose because now we got to do the other side on the bottom. So same kind of thing, slide it up, grab your bolt, push it through, and then you're just trying to get everything to align back up. And this is where you might need to take body removal tool, and it'll help you kind of line everything up. Okay, and you want to leave these things fairly loose because we've got these guys over here that need to line up. So leave it loose so we can move it around. All right, grab your wheel carrier bracket. You're going to want to orient it. This is up. You've got this little gusset right here, the support piece. So that is up. Then go to your hardware kit and grab these 4 bolt plates. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a bunch of these clear plastic squares with a hole in the middle. They're just little retainers so it doesn't fall out. Grab the bolt plates. You're going to tuck one up in here, just like that. Nice. So you got one there. Plug this guy in here, swing it around so you can see. Anyways, do that for all 4. All right, remember those 8 bolts we pulled out to get the carrier off? Well, if you look at them, they've got a flat washer, and underneath the flat washer, they actually have a little nylon washer, or like a sealing washer, and that helps keep moisture out. So what we want to do is grab a 13 mil socket, and the fastest way to do this is just to do it on an impact gun. Put it in reverse, slowly, you want to grip down on the plastic washer. Weep, that easy. So pull all 8 of these sealing washers off your stock hardware, because you're going to need it. Now grab the 8 bolts that came in your hardware kit. These are M8s. They are 55 millimeters long. Now take your sealing washer and put it on there. And similar exercise in reverse. Or forward, I guess. There you go. Lock it down so you've got spring washer, flat washer, sealing washer. It does not go on the ceiling. So we're going to put all 8 of these together. You know what I like about us? When it comes to like these little projects, we're so detail oriented, aren't we? We'd be really good at like crafts, things like that. Like stuff with like a hot glue gun. I think we'd be good at that. Make a wish. All right, grab your tire carrier plate. Make sure you've got it pointed up. You can always tell because this support piece is up here. You want to spin it around. Take those 8 awesome little bolts we put together with the sealing washers, and you're going to plug 1, 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bolts. All right, so we got our carrier. It's almost time to put it on. Remember those OEM angled spacer plates? You can either use these ones that Ironman supplies you with, or you can reuse your factory OEM plates. It's totally your call. Well, we set them aside, so grab them. You kind of can't get them wrong. You just want this top one angled up. We're gonna put this dude right here, and then flip this one down, and Haas goes there like that. We will actually start with the top. Man, this is a tough one too, because you don't want to scratch your paint. I gotta have like baby hands to do this. Okay. Take your time. You don't want to cross thread anything. So many times I get frustrated when something won't work, but you know, if you have to back the bolt out, examine it, start over again, the last thing you want to do is cross thread one of these nutserts in the door of your Jeep, because that means you now have to go get a drill and a tap and try to save it, or really you're probably just going to lose it. You probably no turning back if you ruin it. So just take your time, don't get frustrated. If something don't feel right, it's probably because it ain't. All right, instead of sitting here, I mean, if you've got calloused fingertips, because you're like a guitar hero or something, then good for you. But if your fingers are nice and dainty like me, sometimes instead of just sitting here cranking these bolts and trashing your fingers, just put the socket on it. That's a lot easier to finger tight a bolt. And what I'm trying to do here is just make sure all these washers are through the outer face of our tire carrier bracket. And once I'm very confident that I've got more than enough threads, then I'll grab my gun and we'll go slow. So I wouldn't use your big 1/2 inch impact. I've got a little 1/4 inch, and we will take it nice and easy. See how genteel I'm being? People say my genteelness is one of my worst features. Okay, so things are starting to snug down, and that's good. Anytime you have something that's spread over a large surface area, you kind of want to crisscross, just like when you're tightening down your lugs on your wheel. So we're going to start here on the outside. And again, all this hardware has split washers on them. So as far as torquing it down, you want it tight. But once that washer flattens out, if you go any tighter, you can actually open the split washer up, and then it's useless. So you just want everything to lay flat, and then the spring washer will do its job. So, you know, I don't know, that feels like maybe 30 foot-pounds, something like that. So we're here. We'll come across down here. Now we're going to go here. That one's tight for sure. That one's real loose. Also, if you look through the top side here, you can see the foam starting to flatten out right in there. So, and that's why you got the spacer plates over here on the left side to make up for that spacing there. All right, now let's tighten up the hinge reinforcement bracket. All right, we'll grab our 6 mil Allen, and we will tighten down the hinge bracket. Cool. Let's remove this wire from the bracket here and just pop it out just like that. Gives us a little extra bit of wiggle room. All right, that wire's loose. Now we're going to pop this zip tie. We are free. Safely put these somewhere where you won't forget them. All right, so we popped our rear tire carrier off of the zip tie. This wire here for your camera and your brake light, you want to pop it out of that bracket to give yourself some extra slack. But you want to keep it in the channel here. So if it comes out, You can just kind of guide it back in there. And then you're just going to hang the rear tire carrier up on these threaded studs that we put in, just like that. So now your wire comes out here between this gap between the plate and the carrier. The wire was here, we popped it loose, and now it's hanging down here. So hopefully that makes it clear and you guys understand what we're looking at. So we've got the tire carrier just hanging on the bolts. Now what we're gonna do is go grab our nylock nuts and our washers, and we'll get it all secured down. All right, we got 8 flat washers and 8 nylock nuts. We don't need split washers because the nylocks, that's what they do. They hold it on. There we go. And we'll just get everything loosely spun on there. And just keep working your way around. Hey, another thing that you can or can't do, depending on what you want, it's your preference, but remember those clear plastic squares, those little retainer nuts to keep these bolt plates from backing off. You know, you can use them, and we suggest you do to make the installation easier, but if you don't like the look of it, you can either kind of push them out of the way so you can't see them, or you can try to cut them, or heaven forbid, I mean, you can do this just balancing it without using those. So it's kind of an optional thing. If you want to do it, go for it. If not, you know what, I trust you. I trust you'll make the right call. All of us here do. We're on your side. All right, everything's on there hand tight. Grab a 13mm socket, and we're gonna get this thing pinned down. There's a little bit of movement, so try to get everything centered up. And don't forget, this housing is plastic, so if you're using power tools, don't go full animal style on it. So this looks really good. We got our stock carrier. What this whole kit does is it moves it up, and you can see here, it's about 3.5 inches of height, which is great because if you're going from, say, like a 35-inch tire to a 37-inch tire, you actually don't need 2 extra inches because of the, it's the diameter. You have 1 inch on the top, inch on the bottom. So the overall growth on one side's only 1 inch. Circular, round, put in the quarter, round and round. Take good, block bad.
Got to harness in the good energy, block out the bad. Harness, energy, block, bad. Circular, circle, with the music, the flow, all good things.
All right, we're ready to hang the tire back up. A couple things. Put your camera surround nearby and your 3 lug nuts where you can reach. Get them easy if you're doing it by yourself. Grab your tire, lift with your back. Just kidding. And be careful when you're putting this back on because the camera's right in the middle. And you don't want to be busting that thing. There we go. Get a few threads. That thing ain't going nowhere. Now before I get this thing locked down, I'm going to show you something else real quick. In your kit, we also include these guys right here. And you may be going, what the heck is that? It looks like a big, super awesome socket. It's not. What they are is they're extended lug nuts. And they have a threaded hole on the end. So, depending on what model Jeep that you have, if you've got one without a rear camera here, and you've got the license plate mount, or if you've got an aftermarket license plate with the 3rd brake light built in or something totally high speed, you can take these guys, spin them on. We'll just say, for sake of argument, these are tight. And now you can actually bolt your license plate bracket or other accessories right here. Now the Ironman 4x4 tire relocation kit comes with a couple different options for mounting your rear license plate. Now that's dependent on what kind of Jeep you have and what kind of options that it's got. The first option is you can mount this bracket on here, and it's for wheels, aftermarket wheels that have a really negative offset or a really deep dish. You can kind of see here how this bracket kicks out at a 45 to give you that extra clearance. You can bolt it on to the supplied lugs with the threaded holes on the end. Set this bracket up. Comes with a really nice rear license plate light to keep that all nice and bright at night. Run your wiring, zip tie it up. So that's one option. All right, option 2 is this setup here. You can bolt the rear license plate bracket directly to the threaded lugs. And this would be for like if you have a stock wheel that doesn't have reverse backup camera on it. Now for our Jeep, we're actually not going to mount our license plate here because we're going to be mounting it under the taillight on a bracket on our new Ironman 4x4 rear armored bumper. Once you got your lugs all tightened down, don't forget, last piece is this rear backup camera shroud. That just tucks on nice and tight. And then turn that to the locked position. You're done. Hey, if you're running a really big wheel and tire, your third taillight might get obscured. So one thing you can do, pull these two bolts on left and right, this whole fixture comes out. All these little Torx bolts, zip them out, this face piece comes off. You can actually unscrew the third brake light and then reattach it out here where it's not going to be obscured. Really nice little extra feature if you need it. All right, we got it all buttoned up. I'm really happy with the fit and finish of this. Just as reference, it moved our rear tire up about 3.5 inches. It used to sit down here. Now we have plenty of room to put bigger wheels and tires on this thing if you want to go to a beefier offset. Hey, if we can help you with a purchase of one of these kits, go check us out at Ironman4x4America.com, or you can talk to one of our customer service agents over the live chat feature on the website, or call us at 971-264-9016. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Bing Bong, Ding Dong, SpaceX. We're everywhere.